Welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal channel. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. There is Pep Guardiola has made comments about Arsenal spending and Liverpool spending. I'm more interested in the Arsenal spending than I am in the Liverpool spending, obviously. And he has said that if Arsenal win the league under Mikel Arteta this season, it will be because we have overspent. It will be because of the huge amounts of money that we have actually spent. It won't be because the team is good. It won't be because of the hard work. It won't be because we've got, good players. It will be because of the spending. And I want us to make sense of this because I really don't understand what is wrong with Pep these days. This is what Pep has said. Then we get into it, right?
I want to say to my friend Mikel Arteta, if he win the title, will be just because he spend, not because he work a lot or his players a little like Liverpool. If Arsenal win again, will be because he spend a lot of money, right? Because it's not just Man City happened that, right? So for all of them, listen, for many years, so every club can do whatever he wants. I know how have been treated is completely different, but what he want to spend is because they want it and it's fine. So only I can say they have been wise. They spend what they believe they can do it, to compete against the best teams in the Premier League in Europe, and that they reached that level.
Okay, that is Pep. And I think if you put this out of context, if you pull this out of context, you can easily be angry. But he's got two sides to this story. The bad part, I don't think Arsenal are here only because we've spent a lot of money. We've gone through pain. We've gone through agony. We have been patient with this project. And I think Pep knows that as well. This is not the team that Mikel Arteta inherited way back in 2019 in December when he took over from Unai Emery. And again, there is the other part. And he says it very clearly. He says that Arsenal have spent in ways that they believe take them or would take them to the top bracket to compete with the best in the world, and they're now at that level. They're at that level where they can compete with the best in the Premier League. They're at that level where they can compete with the best in the world as well. And that was always going to come with spending. That was always going to come with splashing some cash. Because if you want to compete with Bayern, how do Bayern spend? They'll come and get Michael Olise. They'll spend 100 on Harry Kane. They will buy Jonathan Tah from Rivers, and they have the best goalkeeper that they got from Leverkusen many years ago. So if you want to compete with such a team, they spend money. You've got to spend money. It's the same thing with Madrid. They have Vinicius. They have Kylian Mbappe. They have Oren Tchouameni. They have Camavinga. They have players like Thibaut Courtois. All those are projects that have been splashed hundreds of millions on. And if you want to get to that level, there is no other way. Yes, you can build players from the academy from the ground up, but we saw Arsene Wenger do that, and it doesn't take you anywhere. But I want to react to this. This is what I really want to react to first, and then we can get into the acknowledgements, right? Because he says if Arsenal win the league, right? If Arsenal win the league, it won't be because they've done well. It won't be because the players have done well. Mikel Arteta has worked hard. It will be because they have spent a lot of money this year. Now, for Pep Guardiola, he has to understand this, right? He's one of the managers that have been spending billions on projects. And even if you think about that Barcelona team, yes, they did have Iniesta from the academy, they did have Xavi from the academy, and they did have Messi from the academy. But how many times did we see them getting a player like David Villa? How many times, right? The backbone of that team was La Masia. It was Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta, Messi. It was La Masia. It was, really. But they also did spend a lot of money. They did spend huge amounts of money, right? Barcelona then spent huge amounts of money. And if you remember, Arsenal were victims of that. Fabregas going there, Thierry Henry going there, Alexander Hilep going there, Alexander Song-Bilong going there. They took a lot of players from us and they spent a lot of money. So Pep is acting as a fool on purpose. He's trying to say, well, it's not a fair race. It is a fair race, Pep. It is a fair race. Wherever he has been, look at the amount of money he spent. Look at the team he had at Bayern. Look at the team he has had just 2 years ago, right? That team was worth £1 billion and more in pounds just 2 years ago, right? This is a guy that has had Kevin De Bruyne, has had Lodri, has had John Stones, has had Kai Walker, has had Edison, and all these players I'm talking about cost 50 million and more. So he's being a hypocrite, a pure hypocrite. And no, if Arsenal win the league, it's not because we've spent a lot of money. We have seen clubs spend a lot of money and nothing happens. Case in point, Manchester United. If we think about Manchester United spending in the last 10 years and the position in which they finished last campaign and the position in which they are right now, that you just win one game, right? And all of a sudden, it's newsworthy. United winning one game wasn't newsworthy, right? They could go 7 games in a row, unbeaten, not drawn, just wins. And it wasn't as newsworthy. And now it is. But they've spent billions on this project, hundreds of millions in this project for the last 7 years. I think trying to discredit Mikel Arteta and Arne Slot, and like I said, this video for me, I don't really care about Arne Slot because he's just come in, he's spent a lot of money on his project, but he's a very, very, very good manager. He's a bloody good manager, and you can see it. And you can see how Liverpool play, and you can see the transformation, and you can see the dynamism in that Liverpool side, and you can see, the two faces of that team. They can defend well, they can attack well, they can manage games, they can catch you on the break. It's different. But for Mikel Arteta, this guy deserves his flowers. And even from idiots like me, that I've always said he's got to win or he's got to go, he deserves his flowers. However much you do not recognize the presence and the beauty of this guy and what he's done, you've got to give him his flowers. Like, Mikel comes into this Arsenal team. I just want to set for you a stage. He comes into this Arsenal team, and the best thing we could do, right, was finish 8th, honestly, right? Honestly. The wounds and the rotten parts of that team, there was no panel beating that could help. I mean, if we try to panel beat that, we would be in the same situation that Manchester United are in right now. So Mikel comes in and he understands that the culture is rotten. There is no panel beating that's going to help this team. And he says to Josh Kroenke and he says to Stan Kroenke, listen, we can build this, but it's going to take some time. It's going to take pain. It's going to take suffering. It's going to take abuse. It's going to take impatience from the fans. And it's going to take us to be as deaf to the shouts of the fans and blind to the posters that are saying Kroenke and Arteta are out. And I'm one of the people who shot videos and said, Arteta out, enough is enough. He ain't a good manager. Bloody hell, he is a good manager. He needed time. He found this team in the worst position ever. Honestly. Like, maybe financially we weren't in the worst position. And that is courtesy and we thank Arsene Wenger for that. But apart from that, how dare you say that if Arsenal win the league, it's because they've just spent a lot of money? Have you just forgotten when he said that Mikel Arteta needs time because he's a good manager and he will take Arsenal to the promised land? It was Pep who said that. He's just forgotten that. He's just forgotten all that. And now he's saying, no way, he's not a good manager. It's not about his tactics. It's not about his players. It's about the money. It's not. I'm one person that has always given Pep Guardiola his flowers, regardless of the huge amounts of money he spends on his bloody teams. I've always given him his flowers. I've always said he's a good manager. And the whole world has said Pep might be the best we have ever seen, even with the amount of money he spends. Because his teams will be impenetrable. His signings will work. It is not a mistake that a manager comes into a team And all of a sudden, they're winning five trophies in a row, 4 trophies in a row. It's not a coincidence that a manager comes into a team and they're winning trebles. It's not a coincidence that a manager comes into a team and they're winning trophy after trophy, game after game. They're impenetrable defensively, and they're unstoppable offensively. That was Pep Guardiola. And if Arsenal become that under Mikel Arteta, is it just because of the money? We're not talking about the philosophy. You're not even giving yourself credit for making this little boy the manager that he has become today, courtesy of your training and teaching. You're not. It's embarrassing, honestly. But also, for the people that have come out to attack Pep Guardiola for this statement, I want us to make things clear, right? Football has changed. And modern football, bloody hell, has changed. Let's talk about Nottingham Forest for a second, just as an example. Nottingham Forest under what's the name of that guy? Their owner, Marinakis, right? They come from relegation. They come from the Championship, and somehow, in a single window, they're able to buy a whole new team, right?
Only I want to say to my friend Mikel Arteta, if he win the title, will be just because he spend, not because he work a lot.
Right? So they spend money on a whole new team. That's Nottingham Forest. Sorry for that, right? And you look at their position last season, and look at their position this season, they're a team that looks like they're not going back anytime soon. They're a team that looks like they're destined to compete for UEFA Europa League places and UEFA Conference League places almost every single fucking season. That is not by mistake. That is because they've spent a lot of money, right? And we all acknowledge it, that Brighton, Nottingham Forest are in the position they are in because they can spend money. And don't tell me about Brighton, sporting players. They do sport players like Baleba, like Mitoma, they do. But then they have also spent some good money on the likes of Ruta as well, right? So, yes, if Arsenal win the league this bloody season, or if Liverpool win the league this bloody season, money has a role it has played. But also, so does Manchester City. You think about that January transfer window, it was crazy. And I think Pep is trying to focus on the summer. But Pep has got to understand that in January, he brings in Omar Moush, he brings in Nico Gonzalez, and he brings in Kusanov. How much is that? That is like 100 million, 200 million. Because I think Mamouche is like 70, Gonzalez is like 60, that is 130, and then Kusanov is like 40. So it's around 170 million. And then he gets Ryan Sharkey in the summer, and he gets Tijani Reinders in the summer, and he gets Ryan Ainori in the summer, and he gets Gigi Donnarumma in the summer. This guy, has he forgotten? Has he just forgotten that between January this year and and September 1st this year, he has signed more than 6 players that are really good and very expensive. Ryan Ainori, one of the best left backs in the Premier League last campaign. Ryan Sharkey, we all know the talent that he is. And Tijani Reinders has already started doing things that we expected, right? So, if Pep wins it, the money has a role to play. If Arteta wins it, yeah, the money has got a role it has played. And if Arne Slot wins it, yes, the money has got a role as well. But that is modern football, ain't it? That is modern football now. We can no longer sit down and say, oh, they were lucky. Of course, Leicester City were the last lucky team to do something lucky, right? Look at Spain, for example. And then you look at German. And then you look at Italy, right? Look at the squads that are winning the titles there. Girona almost did it. And the overspending of Madrid, the overspending of Barcelona meant that Girona were not going to win the league or even finish second. That is how big their squads are. That's how expensive their squads are. That is how good their squads are. Look at Leverkusen in the German Bundesliga. They come under Xabi Alonso and they do it. And I think what Pep is saying, can we have more of these? But in this world, the cases of Leverkusen are going to be very, very few, if not depleted. Maybe Leverkusen is the last team that has done that, right? Maybe Atalanta under Gasparini are the last team to win a major trophy with a cheap squad. In fact, I would say Atalanta under Gasparini win the Europa League against Alonso's Leverkusen, and they have done a much better job than Alonso did in the Europa League. Because Alonso's team, boy oh boy, they give you that team, they bring it to the Premier League, and they give it to a good manager. That team is work. That team is problems, right? It's really, really big problems. You have Frimpong, you have Grimaldo, you have Jonathan Tah, you have Robert Endrich, you have Granit Xhaka in there. Then there is Florian Wirtz. You've got the likes of Patrick Schick, who can come off the bench and do a job. Victor Boniface. Not to mention, I don't know. But for me, if Pep says that Arsenal are only winning because of the money, it's wrong. But is the money a big part? Like 50%? Is money and good spending a reason that Arsenal have been able to build from the ground up once again? Bloody hell, yes. And everybody has done it. And don't attack Arsenal, and don't attack Liverpool, and don't attack anyone. You have done it. Chelsea have done it, and Man United have done it before as well.